everyone, Amanda here. Thank you so much for joining me. So today I'm going to show you step by step in real time how to make 7 fantastic handmade embellishments. And they're all using basic shapes. You don't need any special dies or tools or anything. Now I happen to be using my Country Gingham collection, which is linked below, and I love this because when you make everything from scratch, these are going to coordinate with my journal perfectly. The colours are going to be right. Everything's just going to be wonderful. It's going to tick all the boxes. And if you learn how to make them, it's going to tick all your boxes too. You can totally and utterly use any kind of paper. Use what you've got. But I'm going to show you how to make them. So let's get creating. Okay, so we're going to start with the first one. Now I am using some basic shape punchers. If you don't have punchers, you might have dies. Have a look through your collection. If you don't have dies, all of the shapes that I'm using, you can totally and utterly draw by hand. Okay, so I'm just going to punch my first layer and then I'm going to punch my second layer. I am going to take time to ink things because if you add ink, it will totally and utterly make each layer pop and stand out. I'm using Stampin' Up inks. You can use anything to ink with, so long as it will eventually dry. And then the smaller pink layer, I'm using Victorian Velvet. That's those 2 layers. Then I'm going to get a piece of card and I'm punching a leaf shape. Again, you could draw this by hand if you wanted to. And whilst I'm there, I'm using a small floral punch. It's just a 5-petal flower. Again, have a look what you've got in your collection. I've punched the leaf in white and I'm going to colour it with quite a vibrant lime green pen. This is a Tombow watercolour, water-based marker. You can use them like watercolours, but it will dry and it will look fabulous. So all of these will be totally and utterly handmade. So if anybody wants to tell you that journaling with scrapbooking paper or digitals is not creative, tell them to hit the road, Jack. I'm just going to leave that to dry. So what I'm going to do here with this little flower, I'm going to draw a circle in the middle. Okay, I'm not too worried if it's not perfect. And then I'm going to go around the outer edge of each petal. Again, I'm not overly concerned if it's not perfect, but I'm getting as close to that edge as I can. I'm following the shape. I'm using a really fine Unipin fine liner. It's a number 1, I think, which is really skinny. Okay, again, it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. So then what you want to do is decide which way you like your flower. I quite like that way. I'm just going to do some stippling just at the bottom of the center there, and then on each petal we're going to do flicky lines. And what you want to do is you want to kind of curve them ever so slightly. Okay, if you just do straight lines, that's fine, but if you curve them ever so slightly, you are giving a little bit of depth to that flower. Okay, just a little bit of curve to it. And then here, going the other way, and there's my little flower. So on my leaf here, I'm going to do the same, and I'm going to go around the outer edge. Okay, so again, it doesn't need to be perfect. Just follow the line of what you've got, or if you've hand drawn it, great stuff. Okay. I go quiet when I'm thinking. Then we're going to go all the way down and we're going to go down. And the thinner your pen that you use, the better look you'll get. And again, we're going to go flick your line, okay, up the middle of each one. And then we're just going to do one to each side. Okay, so that's that component done. And then we want to grab a sentiment. So let me just grab one from my words and see if I can find one really quickly. Just one of these little ones will do. We'll have hope. So the papers that I'm using are from my Country Gingham collection, and all the words are from my Word Soup collection. Available in my Ko-fi. The link's always below every video if you want to go and have a look. So I'm just going to ink that little word, and you might think, what a lot of faff. But trust the process, it's worth it. Okay, so now we can assemble this, and it's going to look fantastic. Heart in the centre. We're going to have the word in the middle of the heart. And you could even just have that. It would still look fabulous. And don't worry if you don't cut round your words perfect. It doesn't matter. If they're a little bit angular and not perfectly rectangular, it adds interest. So we're not going to worry about it. Okay? It's like it's meant to be like that. And then we're going to put our leaf there. Too much glue. And my flower is going to go which way around did I want it? Don't suppose it matters. My flower's going to go there. Just make sure that word's kind of straight. Get rid of my excess glue because I'm a messy crafter. And there's our first embellishment. Okay, ready to either use alone in your journal or add it to a tag, pocket, tuck, you name it, you can add it. Let's do another one. There's my sample. I just added some white pen. So that's that one. So the next one is this one. So there's quite a few components to this one, and I'm using a scalloped circle for this one. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is punch my layers. One there, and I'm also going to punch another one in another colour, because there's an extra little handmade embellishment that goes on this handmade embellishment. So this measures, if I measure that, okay, I'll give you the size of it, and then you could always just draw a normal circle. It's about 2 inches. So then I'm going to go down to 1 3/4. Okay, so I'm going down 1/4 inch, and I'm going to punch a contrasting paper. And I'm just sticking with the Ginghams because they're fresh and light and airy, and it's what I have. So again, I'm going to take time to ink, and I'm just using a makeup sponge. Okay, and this is So Saffron for the yellow if you've got old Stampin' Up inks, and the blue is Balmy Blue. The old inks, they might not be current, I've no idea. I don't keep up with colours at the moment with that particular company. And then for the pink, I'm going to use the Victorian Velvet. So this is going to stick on there. In fact, I'm just going to pinch these elements that I've already done, because I've already got my word prepped. A lot of my other items are all prepped. So with this circle here, what we're going to do is we're going to flip it over, and we're going to push each side towards each other, and you're looking for it to meet kind of equal. So we're not measuring it, but fairly equal. Okay, so that it joins and it's fairly equal. And then just check the back, and if you're using gingham paper, it will help you make sure that that's fairly straight, because you want it quite straight. Okay, let me just pull that one in a bit. So you've got this. Okay, I'm just going to give it an extra crease. It's not quite straight, doesn't matter terribly much. And then the bottom there, we're going to fold up just over half, about half, just over halfway, and we're going to crease it. And then the top, we're going to fold down. Okay, and then I'm going to crease it, and I'm going to use my bone folder to give it a really good press. And what we have there is a little teeny tiny envelope. Okay, so that is an embellishment, a standalone embellishment, and you don't have to use a scallop circle. You can use any circle. So again, you could draw around something, you can do them any size. This is a nice tiny size, that's a 2-inch circle. So we'll put our pieces together. Oopsie-daisy. Glue that on there like so. And just get rid of that glue, or else I'll put my arm in it. And then this is a fussy cut from my Country Gingham collection. So I'm going to glue that on. I'm going to have it peeking off the edge. Is that the right way? No, it wants to go that way. Wants to go the other way. I'm trying to be dead professional here. Come on, give me a break. Right. And then we're going to put the little... I'm just going to glue the envelope shut. You could even just put a little tiny thing in there. A little tiny word or a little tiny heart or something like that. Okay, now that'll take a moment to dry because it's quite a lot of folds. But I want to do this in real time. Okay, and then we're going to glue this, and we're going to put it at an angle like so, about there. And then we're going to add our little word, and I've chosen the word dream. So from the word soup, I printed these 2 to a page to get teeny tiny sized words. I'm just going to have it like so, I think. Shall I have it there? I can't remember how I originally had it placed. I think I'll just put it in the middle. Okay, so there's another one. Beautiful. Right, next. Right, let's do another really simple one. Okay, so here I've got a rectangle, and this measures, I've forgotten, oops, 2 by 3. Okay, let me just move my camera back, apologies, make sure I'm in shot. 2 by 3, and I'm going to just fold it together and just find the center point by nipping it, and then I'm going to cut up 3 of these lines. Okay, that's the joy of gingham paper. You can count the lines to help you get things straight. Okay, and that's created me a banner. If I want a sharper angle, I could just cut a bit further up. Okay, and then we've got another little heart here that I've punched again, and I've already inked that. And then we've got a tiny, tiny little banner. So this is literally just a scrap. It's a 1/2 inch piece, okay, and you cut it to whatever size you desire. Mine happens to be just under 3 inches. And again, you cut the little triangles at each side by going halfway and then snipping towards. So all we're going to do is glue this across the middle. And you can upsize them, you can downsize them. Very basic shapes. It's good old-fashioned scrapbooking embellishment day. That's what it is. This is what we used to make back in the day, before we got all the shop-bought things, you know. We'd just make everything, absolutely everything, by hand. Sometimes it's really cool to just get back to basics. I just move that down. I'm going to have it peeking off for a little bit of interest. I've got a tiny little sentiment. I've inked it because inking everything just makes it stand out and just elevates it ever so slightly. In fact, I'm just going to have it peeking onto the heart there. Okay. Just be gentle with your glue. I always add too much, but it dries clear, so I'm not worried. And then I've punched a tiny little butterfly. I'm quite confident a lot of people have got a butterfly punch or die. If not, you could just add some little self-adhesive gems in an arch around there. Some little pearls or something like that. I'm just going to add my butterfly on there. And then I'm going to have a look and see if I've got anything that I could decorate it with. I'm just going to straighten that word. Let's have a look. What have I got? They're about 5 centuries old, these, so they might not even stick. I don't know. Could do with some smaller ones. Let's have a look. We'll use these. These will do. Don't forget, if you've got gems you don't like the colour of, you can absolutely colour them with an alcohol marker. Okay, and you can change the colour of them very, very easy. And I'm just literally putting one there. And I'm going to put one here. One here. I'm going to leave it at 2. Okay, I think that's enough. So that's that one. Cute as buttons. Again, you can just add it direct to your page. You can add it to a tuck, a pocket, a tag. You could add a strip of paper on the back and turn it into a paper clip or a hidden paper clip. Possibilities are endless. Right, that's how many have we made? 3. Let's do another one. Right, so I've got a feeling I've cut into, have I? No. Here we go. Here's another one. I'll just get all of my bits together. So we're starting off with a piece of paper that measures 5 by 5. Okay, and I think that's meant to, is that to go with it? I think so. So 5 by 5, put it on a corner. I've printed it on both sides. Let me think what colour I want showing. I want the blue showing, so I'm going to put the blue down. And I'm actually going to bring in a mat here with some measurements on. You don't have to measure, but if you take time to get it right, you'll get better results. So I'm going to fold it. I'm just using the line at the moment to make sure it's straight. There's no exact measurement for this. And then this bit I'm just going to fold down like so. And I'm actually going to tuck that behind. You could cut it off. Then you want to bring this side over by, what's 2 of these make? I don't know what measurements this mat's in, so I beg your pardon. I think it's centimetres. So I'm going to go 2 centimetres, which is alien to me. It's about just under 3/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'm going to fold it. So I'm going from 15 down to 13, I think. Okay, and I'm using the bottom line to get straightness. And then I'm going to do the same here. I'm going to go from 3 to 5 and fold. And that will make you a lovely, cute little envelope. Okay, and then all you need to do is glue those points, because we're going to have it as an open envelope, like it's a little pocket. A little bit of glue there, you don't need an awful lot. And if you're using sturdy enough paper, what you can do is you can round that point with a corner rounder. Then you could put an eyelet on it and some ribbon, and that would look really cute. So then I've got the some contrasting paper here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut. How many am I going to cut? Let me have a think. So this is the embellishment I'm using. I'm just going to cut. I'm going to just trim that off so that I can have 2 full sets of stripes. Okay, and then I'm going to measure it. Okay, I'm going to go up 2 squares and in from the corner, in from the corner, like so. Ink it, ink, ink, ink. I'll go back and I will ink the outside of that envelope as well after the video. I'm trying my hardest to be quick. So I might not do every. And I'll probably just tack these little bits down with glue as well. Then I've just got a simple embellishment that I've fussy cut from my collection. You could add absolutely anything. Any little image or sticker or stamp something or draw something. And I'm just going to add that there. And then I thought I had a word ready for this one. Have I not got a word ready? I don't have a word ready, so we're going to go in my words. Let's have a look. What have we got? I want something fairly small so that it fits on. I'm just going to use this. I'm going to change that to create art. Put my words back. Try and keep my desk tidy, even though it's actually a hot mess. I'm going to ink that because it does make a difference. Okay. And that will just go nicely there. Just going to bring it in a little bit. And there you go. And you can make a little tag or put ephemera in there. So that's another one. Right, what's next? Got these little envelopes, or they could be little handbags. I've got them everywhere. Right, this one next. Is this one next? What did I do? Okay. So this one next. Here we go. No, where's my piece? I've lost my piece. I've lost my piece. I've probably used it on something I shouldn't have used it on. Let's have a look. We'll use this. Okay. And this. So I'm going to cut it to about, I think I'm going to try and do 2 by 3. What's this? 3. Right. Let me just trim that. This one's actually printed on cardstock. 2 by 3. 2 by 3. Now I'm going to get my smallest circle punch. If you don't have a circle punch, you can just totally angle the corners, you know, cut them straight across. But I'm going to use, and I'm just going to nip the corners off to make it look like a little ticket shape. I'm not too worried if they're not all exactly the same or exactly the same size. Life is way too short. Okay. But I am going to ink it because the devil's in the detail. Okay, that's that one. And then we're going to use some of this blue, and I'm going to do a strip straight across. So I want to cut it about there. And I'm just going to cut it down a little bit so that it's not quite as wide. Use my blue inky sponge to ink it. And I'm going to stick that straight across. You could totally put faux stitching around that label if you like. I would just practice on a scrap piece, because especially if you're going to use black, because sometimes I find it's a little harsh. Okay, so just sticking that straight across the middle. Okay, it's overlapping a tiny bit, so I'm going to trim that off. And then I'm just going to add my embellishment, like so. Just glue the bottom, like that. I could totally come in with one of my little envelopes if I wanted. In fact, that looks quite cute. Or do I want a pink one? No, I'll have the yellow one. That's actually quite cute. So let's have that. Let's have that little envelope on there. They sat on my desk, so I may as well use them. And then again, I'm going to need another little word. So I'll get my little word drawer out. And let me pinch the word creativity. Pinching that word, making it fit what I want it to fit. Adding that. Again, you could add some little gems, fancy it up even further. And we've just got that peeking there. Get off, don't know what that bit of crud is. And we've got another cute little embellishment. That's that one. What's next? 1, 2, 3, 4, right, 5. Okay, so now we're doing this one. So here I've just cut a strip of white card. I think it is 7/8 of an inch, but the size doesn't really matter. Just do a size that pleases you. Right, I've cut the top with a pair of what I call pinking shears. If you're a fabric crafter, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that. I know what you're thinking. So I'm going to use some grey ink here. I'm going to do a little bit of stamping. I'm just going to decide what size I want this piece of card to be. I want it to fit with this Dragonfly, so I'm going to cut it to size first. Get rid of that so I don't get mixed up. Got my grey ink. Where's my stamp? Ah, here it is. And I'm just using a random word stamp. I'm just going to stamp off so it's not as bright. And I'm just adding a little bit of script to that white layer. Am I inking it? Of course I am. Okie doke. And then I've got another piece that I've cut just so that they nestle nicely inside each other. There's no exact measurement, okay? But you just want a nice border. Okay, so I'm just going to stick this on here. I've already cut the top with the pinking shears. So I'm going to stick that on there so that it's got even borders all the way around. Then I'll grab my pinking shears and just trim where I think at the bottom. I need some more blue ink. Balmy blue. It's quite a nice colour. I have had to throw some of my Stampin' Up inks away because very sadly they were mouldy. But to be fair, I've had them for about, oh gosh, I don't even know, years and years and years, and I've not used them very much, so it's probably my own fault. Okay, and then all we need to do is this my word? There's my word. Add my Dragonfly. Straight down the middle. And I'm going to ink my word. Doesn't take long. A little bit of glue. And we're going to put this across the middle here and over its tail and peeking out. Okay. And that's another one. Fabulous. Okay, so that's that one. What have we got to do now? I think there's just one more to do today, and I'll leave it for today. So for this one, I've done quite a lot of prep for this one. You want a sheet of card that measures 3 inches by 4 inches, okay, or whatever size you want, but you have an inch difference between the width and the height. So if you want it 4 inches, you'd have that bit 5 inches, etc. Then you want to turn it over. And on 3 sides, on the 2 long sides and 1 short side, you want to measure 1/2 inch and draw a line. And then on 1 short side, which, you know, we're going to say is the bottom, you're measuring 1 inch. So these are 1/2 inch and that's 1 inch. And then you cut out the middle. Here's one I made earlier. And I have already inked this one, and I've inked the inside as well. So what we're going to do here is I've got another very slim banner. Again, just cut them to about 1/2 inch is a really nice size. Okay, I've done my little tails at the end. This one's prepped. Okay. And I'm going to stick that across there. And these little banners are fantastic. You put them under anything and it's going to look brilliant. Okay, so I've got my little word and I've got a bird here from, he's a fussy cut from my collection. And we're going to just glue that on. Like so. I can't remember if I had one of these little, no I don't think I did. I think I kept this one clean and simple. And then we're just going to ink this a little bit. Have I already inked it in blue? Oh well, never mind. I think I'd already inked that in blue, but never mind. And we can have this word which says, just breathe. Just slide it just under there. Just move that over ever so slightly because my glue's still wet, so I can. Okay. Make sure everything's nice and straight. And there you've got yourself a little Polaroid, which are fabulous to just decorate pages. They don't have to have a function. You don't have to put a photo behind them. But what you can also do is just glue it on 3 sides. Very, very thin bead of glue. And then you can slide a little tag in there if you want. You can add some acetate behind if you want. I don't think it's always necessary. Sometimes you can stick that on a, let me just grab a page, on something that you're making. And I mean, this is a bad example, but maybe I wanted to highlight that. I could just stick it on that page like that. Okay, or I just want to highlight that, or I just want to highlight that. Okay, so that's the beauty of these. So how many embellishments have we learnt today? 1, 2, this one, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And you could even pop these little ones inside there like that. How lovely are those? So I hope that that gives you some ideas. In the collection there's lots of fussy cuts, but I thought I'd come and share some ideas of some different things that you can make totally by hand and using very, very basic shapes. Hope that helps. Go and have fun. Bye.